Hello there. Pay attention to this because the roast is historic. It's one of the good ones. His name is Albert Fernandez and he's talking about Víctor Muñoz and the possibility that Barça might sign him ahead of Madrid, moving quickly. Wait, there's no sound. Damn it, Miguel. Come on, let's go.
Well, what I have been able to confirm is that Barça really likes him. They like him so much that he's one of the players they're considering in case they don't pay 30 million for Rashford and go after him instead. And they're looking at his contract situation. And at Barça, they've understood one thing.
If they're really looking at it,
the truth is, they want him. If they're fast, Madrid can't do anything to stop or get rid of him. Damn, the Catalan who came up through Barça's youth academy.
I mean, Madrid owns 50% of the players' rights. They're not idiots, of course. They're gonna do what they always do. With these 50% deals, then the right of first refusal, then make sure there's a clause for Madrid, which will be 8 million. But of course, if someone else is faster, then no.
That's not my decision. I don't know what the player wants. I know what another player wants, by the way, which I can't tell you yet, but I'll tell you if you want in another show. And this one, really.
That's probably a lie too.
It's quite a bombshell, but oh well.
It's the lack of suspenseful music now.
But the thing with Víctor Muñoz would be solely and exclusively because Barça has a 40 million clause. Obviously, Barça wouldn't pay it, but they would negotiate.
But if they agree on a price with Osasuna before Madrid manages to, or rather,
Osasuna has a 40 million clause for this player, for anyone who wants him from outside. If an English club comes and pays 40, Madrid would get 20. But of course, Osasuna would negotiate with Barça to lower it because they are that dumb.
If the buyback option is paid, Madrid doesn't have a right of first refusal.
They don't have the right of preference. What do you mean Madrid lacks the right of first refusal or preference? Are they stupid? So they sell the kid 50% of the players' rights, making sure it's the same as with the others? Absolutely the same. I mean, do you remember with Nico Icopaz when they came from Italy with a lot of money and Madrid stopped it? Obviously, because they know that this summer they can get him back for 9, the next for 10, and the previous for 8. Of course, that's how Madrid works. But this guy says, no, Madrid doesn't even have the right of first refusal, not even a preferential purchase right. It's unreal. He just says it and stays calm.
Therefore, if Barça closes that signing, the only thing Madrid would do is receive 50% of what? I mean, look.
Madrid couldn't do anything. If Barça signs, Madrid can't do anything.
Paying would be intense because in some way they would be co-buying him with Real. It's actually what happened with Samuel Eto'o.
He's the kind of player Barça wanted in Nico Williams.
He's a very, very, very fast player, extremely fast, which is what Barça is looking for.
Yes. Anyway, seriously, man, but how can they just put anyone on to say whatever? His name is Albert Fernandez. I don't know. Hey, maybe later it's, I don't know. I just don't know him. I'm sorry, I don't know him, but this is nonsense. This is literally a lie. But, well, hey, that's it. There they are. Here's a quick video because today I'm spending the day with my family. I hope nothing happens. We're going on a day trip and I hope everything goes well. But well, if something happens, if it happens, we just deal with it, as a friend of mine used to say. But besides, if it happens, well, we'll be there running if we have to, right? Making videos from anywhere, from the car or wherever we need to. I told you yesterday about this historic tweet from Miguel Galán and we explain it. Well, just watch the video. I'm not explaining the previous video now since I'm focused on this one, but I find this thread interesting. After Benito's tweet that says never forget, and he posts the famous tweet from Miguel Galán saying paying for neutrality is not a sports corruption offense, right? So there is someone here, a guy named Junkers, who brings up a very interesting point, and Miguel Galán ends up saying, well, it is what it is, right? He says, of course, he tells the judge, when entering the courtroom, you have to bring him a briefcase with a tag that clearly says it's, so he judges impartially. And then Miguel Galán says something that, in a way, is also right. He says, don't mix up legal frameworks. A judge is a public official subject to Title 19 of the Penal Code regarding crimes against public administration. On the other hand, a referee or a member of the CTA belong to a private entity, the Spanish Football Federation, and their actions are governed by Article 286 bis of the Penal Code regarding corruption in sports. He says the analogy with a judge and a briefcase makes no legal sense. Incentivized neutrality in the private sector does not constitute a criminal offense, while in the public sector it can constitute bribery. Okay, remember the part about the private sector, because that's where we are headed with this new path that's about to open. The ethical path, right? But anyway, that's another topic. Juncker says, but was it illegal to pay him at that time? And Miguel Galán says here, he says, from the administrative point of view, yes, it's an infraction, but not a criminal one. By the way, Miguel Galán, you should put an accent on C to clarify it's affirmative, not conditional. We know it's affirmative. But anyway, because, well, since he corrects everyone, well, that's that. Look, when it comes to what I know, probably more than you do, you have to put an accent on the E when it's affirmative. He says, from the administrative point of view, yes, it's an infraction, but not a criminal one. My friend, of course, that's what I was saying yesterday. If any club now starts paying the second in command of the referees, even if it's just for an afternoon, a day, a single payment, they get relegated. Absolutely clear. Why? Because of the sports law. We often get things mixed up, and like I said in the previous video, the media should say this. Barça would have been sanctioned if this had been discovered in time, but they let it expire, which is another story that we'll find out about later. By now, most of us know what happened today with Albert Soler. This man, Miguel Galán, admits it's an administrative infraction, not a criminal one. This is where the other Twitter user is sharp, quick, and spot on. And he starts steering him toward a point. The one we always mention, which is when FIFA and UEFA would have to step in, especially FIFA. He says, okay, they are guilty, but it wouldn't technically be a criminal offense, according to you, right? The truth is, it's an embarrassment for FIFA that a smaller organization can get around rules that for them would actually constitute a criminal offense, my friend. A FIFA official would likely face a penalty for this, but he says the administrative offense is already time-barred. He repeats that it's now time-barred. Paying for neutrality to a vice president of referees isn't a criminal sports corruption offense, says Miguel Galán, but it's an administrative violation under sports law. And he replies to him, I don't know why it doesn't show up here. He says, yes, I understand, but that's why I say it's embarrassing for FIFA that payments for neutrality to a member of the FIFA referees committee would be considered sports corruption. But in Spain, even though it's a lower ranking entity, it's not. He says, but anyway, the important thing is that it's time bar in the sense that, well, administratively, it's time bar. But of course, that leads me to the FIFA and UEFA route, especially FIFA here, right? How is that possible? That's why we have to make as much noise as possible. How is it possible, and sorry for repeating possible, that FIFA allows something that in its structure and organization is unthinkable because it would be sanctioned? From the very first second, this happened in the Spanish Football Federation, and it hasn't been sanctioned in the Spanish Football Federation. FIFA could sanction it because it's a higher authority than the Spanish Football Federation. The Spanish Football Federation also depends on FIFA. And they could say, well, this happened in Spain for 20 years and it won't be sanctioned. Whereas in my organization, if it happened for even a single second, it would be sanctioned. The same. Imagine if a national team or, well, a club, right? They pay in the Club World Cup, they pay ahead of the FIFA referees committee. The FIFA referees committee, what would happen? Of course, FIFA would sanction them. How is it possible that here there are no sanctions? Or how is it possible, rather, that FIFA allows this to happen when it has already happened in one of its world branches in Spain, where the Spanish Football Federation, even though this championship is governed by La Liga, well, sorry, that's La Liga, because then there's also the Copa del Rey and the Supercopa, and that's already the federation. How is it possible that they allow it? They'll say, 20 years have passed, no big deal. But no, that's not true. They weren't punished because it was already time-barred under Spain's sports law, but I can still sanction them because I'm FIFA. I think you get what I'm saying, right? I think it's clear what path needs to be taken. Even the people who are saying this, like Miguel Galán, who wasn't allowed to join the case as an accuser, by the way, because he was going to accuse in order to defend Barça, which was a contradiction in itself. And in the end, it was achieved that he didn't appear as an accuser. Yes, when it arrives, the administrative part. But there's another way. It's not just about the sports law. And here we go back to the ethical route, which is where we have to push UEFA and FIFA to do something because they actually can. Well, and with that, I'm leaving. Hope all goes well for you. Like, subscribe, comment, and share if you enjoyed this video. See you next time. Have a great Tuesday of Holy Week. Bye.